stood out to you when you were doing that activity?
Yeah. I feel like now that the pandemic's happening now, obviously, but I find that now that we're kind of slowly moving out of it, I look at more of the positive aspects of it and like different things you can possibly, or things that I gained from it compared to like during it, you know, you're like, this sucks, like, you know, this, I don't know what I'm gonna do, different things like that. But like now I kind of look at like the things I've gained from it, since like we're slowly creeping out of it compared to actually being in it. It's more, you know, negative.
Definitely. And then what are your like initial feelings that came to mind when you thought about the pandemic?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, now I work at a university and I work with college students and everything like that. And the pandemic hit my senior year of college, undergraduate. And I went through my master's program throughout COVID. And so, you know, I know how just special like senior year is. And for me, I went home for spring break and didn't come back to Coastal and be able to finish my time as a student, as a tour guide there. That was like my thing, finish with my clubs and everything like that. So I just feel like my undergraduate experience was kind of short. It was just like kind of taken, you know, and, you know, so I think that's like the kind of thing that I think of. I was like devastated. I couldn't walk when I was supposed to walk and everything. And so that's like one of the main reasons I went to graduate school, because I wanted to do it again. But it was only 14 months and we were still going through the pandemic. So I didn't walk again, you know. So I chose to go to college for the experience, and I feel like I didn't get that like in graduate school, and I had it like for 3.5 years, but you know, I didn't get to finish it out how I wanted to. So that's what I think of when I think of that. I think of like my education and my time. Yeah,
that's good. And then when I asked you to write around the hand, like your support system, who came to mind when you think about like your surroundings during the pandemic and like who supported you?
Yeah, I would definitely say my parents. So when I went to college, I was gone for about 3 years, living in Conway, South Carolina, and so I had to come home, and it's really different just living by yourself, being an adult, I guess you could say, in college, and having to come home and be under your parents' roof and their rules and everything. But they were just so supportive, and though I didn't get to walk or anything like that, they supported me, and we had a party still, and all that stuff was just like me and like my brothers and them. And so I would just say them, and my brothers as well, and then just friends, stay in contact. I mean, social media, I think I was appreciative for it during that time, and like FaceTime and texting, and so, you know, I was able to still stay in contact with people.
Definitely. So first, where were you born, and then where is home right now?
Yeah, so I was born in Charlotte, but I grew up in Indian, South Carolina, so about 45 minutes from here. I currently live in Ballantyne right now.
Cool. And then so you've been in the Charlotte area for a while?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And now, how do you think your life has changed since March 2020 to now?
Yeah.
Just like since you lived in the same area and stuff, just other parts of your life, how do you think that has changed since March of 2020?
I think personally, I tried to use the time as positive as possible, like to, you know, though the pandemic was like rough on people, it just gave you just time that you didn't have before. And I even think like now with my job, like I feel like, you know, I'm working very often, and you know, you don't have time to just listen to a podcast all the time or just read a book or self-help things and everything like that. So I think that is like what's changed, like, you know, having those time to really do things to help yourself as a person. I would say that's like only like the negative thing, but like positive wise, like I feel like I'm closer to my family. I feel like that made people realize how special life and health is. So I think that's kind of what's changed, I guess, my perspective and my values.
Nice. What are some challenges that I know you already kind of explained the education part,
Mm-hmm.
and do you have any like family or personal challenges that you faced during the pandemic and still?
Yeah, so I've been grateful enough that I haven't lost any family or anything through COVID. And even through like the major pandemic when like things were shut down and everything, like no one ever like got it in my family. It was more when things were opening back up. Like I went to a Justin Bieber concert and I got COVID. So, you know, they were having concerts at that time. So it was way past like when things are going crazy. And I mean, I went to the concert knowing it could happen, and you know it happened, so all well, you know, it was worth it. JB was great, but so it was more like later when we started to get it, but you know we got our vaccines and everything like that, and we just made sure that you know we support each other. So nothing like no loss or anything. Like I've been blessed that I haven't had to deal with that.
That's awesome. I'm very glad that you didn't have to deal with any of that. Yeah. I didn't either, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So think about like your normal routine of your life. Does anything stand out of having like changed since the pandemic became like a thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
it can be even like the littlest thing or something like big that you don't do anymore or do now.
Mm-hmm. I think just health-wise, just taking care of myself. I think that's really, like, though I did it before, you know, I'm 24, so I'm still pretty young, but, you know, when you're, like, in, like, your teens, you know, like, your 20s, like, you know, you're just kind of chilling, like, whatever happens, but now I'm kind of thinking of things, like, to make sure I'm healthier, like, in the future, so I do my little hip mobility stretches in the morning, like, different things like that you just find out about. I think those are just things, and just, I'm just grateful for time with friends and family. I mean, I just think that's just something that I didn't have a lot of before the pandemic, because I was always just go, super busy. But now that I moved back to Charlotte from going to school, I'm like 3 lights down from my parents. So like I'll go and have dinner with them. Like last night we had dinner. I picked up Chipotle, ate with them, and you know, that's just things maybe I couldn't do if I was away, or it's just things I more value now because we did that so often throughout the lockdown.
Right. So you would say that your friendships and like family relationships like strengthened because of COVID?
Yeah, because that's just time that we would never, if it didn't happen, you wouldn't have time to spend with people. And I think I got to know my like, I think we got to know each other a little bit differently because I was an adult at that time. Like, I was like 22, you know, and I think, you know, they look at me as like an adult now compared to just a kid in college. So, yeah, it was interesting.
What do you remember about like your feelings about like the early days of COVID? Like when everything was first getting like shut down and it was very like nobody knew what was happening, and like what like feelings were, if you remember like any specific moments?
Well, one thing that I like knew that this was serious when they were shutting down schools. I was like, whoa, okay, because you know, schools, they run no matter kind of what, and so they're shutting down schools and making people stay home. I was like, wow, okay, this is like a big deal. But yeah, I just feel like, so that was something that kind of made me like kind of click, like, okay, this is a big deal.
Right.
Also, like, though I spent a lot of time with my family and everything, like, I wanted to see like more people. So like, I'm a very personal person, like I'm an extrovert, and so I get a lot of my energy from interacting with others. And so my parents are great and everything, but you know, I need different personalities, and you know, which is why I do my job, because I meet different people. And so I think that was kind of difficult too. Like, I was kind of like drained, I guess, and I wanted my cup to be filled, and I get that by interactions, and I didn't have that, so that was a big thing. And then also just sad because of the whole school thing. Like, I couldn't walk, I couldn't have my banquet for being a tour guide, and we were making so many big changes, and I didn't get to embrace any of them.
So you just kind of felt like it was just snatched away.
100%.
Okay, and what do you like as what was the process transitioning like over time, as the restrictions and recommendations have like been in place and then taken away again and then put back in place? Like, how is that? What do you, not necessarily like your opinion on all of it, but like how did it make you like feel?
I like stability, and it wasn't stable at all, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's like the main thing. So many changes and everything like that. And also just like kind of on edge as well, you know, because things are being put in place, but you know, some people listen, some people don't listen. So just like, what should I do, you know, and different things like that. So yeah, I think that's just, and also I didn't want to put other people in danger too. So it was just a lot of confusion. What should I do? What's real? And just like, it's just not stable. Yeah. So.
I feel that. How is this, like, how has COVID experience, like, shaped you as a person? I know, like, there's so many negative aspects and positive, but, like, how are you a different person because of COVID?
I think I'm just more grateful for life in general. I feel like I've done a lot of growing throughout the pandemic, like just using resources and everything like that, and just being more appreciative of things. Again, you know, wanting to do better things for my health and everything like that, valuing my friends, family, and time, and then just being kind to people. I mean, that was such a hard time, and though I didn't lose people during it, I've recently lost a few people just in general, like in my life, and so I'm like, that like sucks. So I can only imagine like having to be stuck in like your home when things are happening around you and you can't do anything about it. So I don't know, I just think stuff like that, it just makes me just more, you know, appreciative. Yeah,
Definitely. And then how do you think, like, what do you think your future will look like with, if COVID still happens, or is still continuing, like it's not, just like, what do you think your future will look like in general?
So there's so many different things. So obviously, like, I'm in higher education. I can teach high school. I actually taught world history. And so if I decide to go back in teaching, I'm sure that's something I'll be teaching to students. So that's something that's really interesting. Yeah, when you kind of think about that, like later down the years. So I think that's something that's going to impact it, and you know, I've lived it. So that's something that's super interesting as well. And you know, yeah. That's kind of what I think of in a way. Yeah, and just being a part of education in general, and as younger generations enter, you know, educating them and all that stuff.
Nice. I never thought about it like that. Like, that's really cool that you could be teaching them, and like I'm here, I lived it. Like, I'm here to tell my tale. And that's exactly what these like living archives are also doing, is telling future generations like how people dealt with it, how people lived and stuff. So really cool. And then to wrap up, do you have any additional like stories, experiences, or like feelings you want to share about COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think this is super cool. And I really feel like no one knew that a pandemic could literally happen. I mean, this world is so fast-paced and functioning all the time, and the fact that something can literally shut it down is insane. And so just, you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, is that even possible? I'm like, a whole pandemic happened. Anything's possible, you know, at this point, right? So just always just having hope, and just knowing that, you know, always have the best interest for yourself and your family. I think that's most important. And though things can be bad and negative, you know, try to find some type of positive in it, or you'll really stress yourself out, and that's just not good. So
yeah.